Donc, pour ce tuto vocabulaire, on va étudier le vocabulaire pour la presse écrite. So this is for all print press. So earlier on, we looked at media around things that were on TV and on the radio, and this is we're going to look at written stuff. So let's have a look what we've got here. So pretty much every group of people now or profession, you will have a masculine version and a feminine version, whereas before it would probably be some assumption based on whether the profession was going to be masculine or feminine. And because French is a language with masculine and feminine, and there's no neutral ground like we have in English, they've gone down the route of producing a masculine and a feminine for pretty much everything, whereas we don't need to do that. We just say police officer, for example, or actor, and we don't have to define that it's male or female. So un ou une journaliste, that's pretty obvious, and they faire du journalisme, so pretty obvious. Écrire des articles. Now we're going to get into some of the words which is quite specific to print. So un journal quotidien. Quotidien, such a difficult word, I think, for such a simple word in English. It means daily. There used to be a cafe at Covent Garden called Le Pain Quotidien, which means daily bread. And that gets shortened to un quotidien, just means a daily, to be a daily newspaper. They don't have to say un journal quotidien. And then if we weren't sure, then we can say publier tous les jours. And it can either be soit. So soit, we got soit here, and soit. Soit and soit go together, which is either or. Either or, same word. So it could either be a national one. So here's some examples of some national French newspapers. So Le Monde, Le Figaro, Libération. And some regional ones, Ouest de France, so west of France. And Midi Libre would be, La Midi is the south of France. It's not the middle of France, it's the south. Dans la Midi, voilà. Now, notice, c'est un magazine, quite often mixed up with the word for shop. Nothing like it really. So un magazine hebdomadaire, shortened to hebdo, an hebdo. Hebdomadaire, and that's every week. So we've got quotidien for daily and hebdo for weekly. And then we've got some examples here. So l'Express, le Nouvel Observateur, etc. You've seen these, haven't you, when you arrive at French stations? Quite often it's called le relais. Le relais. It's a bit like W.H. Smith's equivalent in France. Then you have une revue spécialisée, généralement mensuelle. And yes, you've guessed it, mensuelle means monthly. So daily, weekly, monthly, mensuelle. So this is a special, special one. So and can be just shortened to un mensuel, in the same way that we say un hebdo, un quotidien. So publish once a month, and then we've got some examples of those. So they're more specific. My garden and my house, for example, is an arts one. Un magazine féminin, comme Elle ou Marie Claire, women's magazine. And then la presse en ligne. So these are the online equivalents, or only available online. Now, like we said, groups of people are masculine and feminine. So here's another group of people, les lecteurs, les lectrices, and that's the readers. And so reading is called la lecture. So that's reading, la lecture. So, peuvent acheter un numéro. So what would un numéro be? It would be an edition. I suppose they are numbered, yeah. So an edition. And I don't know if this is so much the case now, but it definitely was famous, wasn't it, in Paris and the big cities, but they had the kiosques à journaux. I'm not so sure that would be quite so common now. So you see them all over the place. Quite iconic French building, isn't it, really? Ou chez le marchand de journaux. Chez, you know, at the newspaper seller's place. Les plus fidèles lecteurs s'abonnent à un journal. Fidèle, so the most loyal readers s'abonnent à, notice the à goes with that verb, it's reflexive as well. They sign up for, they subscribe to. Another way of saying that is ils prennent un abonnement. Ils prennent un abonnement, they take out a subscription. Or you could say ils sont abonnés, they are subscribed. And then they receive it either at home or online. Est-ce que le dernier numéro de Télérama est sorti? Télérama is the equivalent of the Radio Times. It's the TV listings. So has the last edition of Télérama come out? Sorti. So sorti ou paru. That's from the verb paraître. Non, pas encore, not yet. C'est le numéro de la semaine dernière. So it's last week's edition. And notice, so we've got Télérama paraît le samedi. So it comes out on the Saturday. La publication, la parution. So that obviously comes from this verb, paraître. A lieu le samedi. Takes place on Saturday. That's a nice way of saying something's happening. You can use that for anything. You know, the tennis match takes place, you know, whatever event. So, a lieu le samedi. It takes place the Saturday. And le samedi means on Saturdays, every Saturday, a regular thing. If it was just this Saturday that we were talking about, we would drop that le altogether. So if somebody's asking you, what did you do at the weekend? You'd say samedi. But if you said something that you do every Saturday, then you would say le samedi. All right, so what makes up a newspaper? Différentes rubriques. You see this on websites as well. It's like sections, columns, headed up bits, you know, so split out bits, sections, I suppose is the best way of saying that. You see it on websites. And then they've shown us a politique intérieure, internationale, so home politics, international politics, faits divers, miscellaneous stuff, got sport, culture, courrier des lecteurs, remember les lecteurs are the readers, so letters from the readers, la météo, weather, and petite annonce are small ads, like classified ads. So these are the things that individuals can put in. They're not the big business adverts. They're things like, you know, what we probably put on Facebook Marketplace now, those sorts of ads. Or, you know, I've got a flat to rent. Was that sort of thing? I don't know how much it exists anymore. Il y a souvent, often, des dessins satiriques. So, cartoons. Avec une légende, and bref text, so a little cartoon with a little byline on it. So, you know, like if you Telegraph, for example, the Matt cartoon. Un quotidien a parfois un fort tirage. So a daily newspaper sometimes has a really long print run. Un fort tirage is a long print run. Par exemple, il peut tirer à 400,000 exemplaires. So 400,000 copies. Exemplaire means copy. And we're going to have a look who works in the newspaper industry. So, le responsable du contenu éditorial est le rédacteur en chef. So, the editor-in-chief is responsible. Qui gère, good word there, gérer, to manage. Une équipe, a team of journalists, reporters. A photographer is actually called une photographe. So we say, oh, hold on, that is just a photo, isn't it? No, that is the person. envoyés spéciaux. Dans certains pays, in some places, in some countries, on se bat pour faire respecter la liberté et l'indépendance de la presse. So in some places, you have to fight for press freedoms. And this word is quite often used in fighting terms, pour lutter, to struggle against. Lutter contre les pressions ou même la censure. So to fight, to struggle against pressure or censor. Then we've got, tu as entendu la nouvelle? So we've got a little dialogue here. Have you heard the latest news? Non, mais je l'ai lu dans la presse, dans le journal. No, but I read it in the press, in the newspaper. C'est dans toute la presse. It's in all the newspapers. Toute la presse en parle. We know, talked about that in a grammar tuto the other day. All the press are talking about it. C'est à la une des journaux. This is quite a common way of saying it. This is the headlines. So c'est à la une is the headlines. Sometimes you just see it's à la une. You don't see anything else. Cela fait la une des journaux. So that's the headline. So you can see this guy running with it. That's the la une. And then we just got a little bit here. L'attaché de presse du ministre a publié un communiqué de presse. So the press officer from the ministry has published press communication that was taken up by the newspaper agencies, and the minister is holding a press conference next Tuesday. Excellent. So again, you know, some useful things. You'll probably just remember, you know, if you remember 20% of that, then that's a little bit more than you knew before you came to this tuto. Ok, bah merci beaucoup et je vous souhaite une très bonne journée, très bon après-midi. Merci beaucoup, au revoir. Au revoir.